Welcome to the ChargePoint podcast, brought to you by FlexiCharge, your gateway to the future of EV charging. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of EV infrastructure, offering insights and perspectives from industry leaders, innovators, and the people at the forefront of deploying charging solutions and networks. Join us to explore the exciting developments that are accelerating our world towards sustainable mobility.
Welcome to a new episode of the ChargePoint podcast. My name is Christophe and I'm your host. Germany is Europe's biggest car market. It's also one of the toughest places to scale high-power EV charging. You're dealing with a fragmented regulation, more than 800 grid operators, unpredictable grid approvals, and increasing power constraints, especially in dense urban areas. Speed matters, but the grid sets the reality. So how do you scale in a market like that? In this episode, I'm joined by Paul Tonini, General Manager of ELECTRA Germany. Paul has been in e-mobility for nearly a decade and is now leading ELECTRA's expansion in one of Europe's most complex charging landscapes and most promising. We talk about what it really takes to roll out at speed in Germany, from navigating DNO requirements and grid bottlenecks to building standardized, scalable infrastructure that can handle future demand. We also explore why technology, smart grid control, and operational scalability are becoming true competitive advantages, not just technical details. If you're a CPO, energy professional, or simply curious about how EV infrastructure scales in real-world conditions, this episode is packed with practical insight from the field. Let's get to it. Can you please give us a bit of your background? I always like to understand where people come from and what have you been doing before you came to this position at ELECTRA?
Yeah, I'm with ELECTRA for 2 years now, and my background is European energy economics. I studied this a couple of years ago, also energy and technology management. And I'm in the charging industry for 8 years, have been there from day one for digital energy solutions, building up a network across Germany, later a wallbox at Webasto, and then moved to ELE and rolled out an MSP product across Europe.
So that's how many years in e-mobility?
Eight. Yeah. No, it's 9 now.
It's 9 now. Yeah, time is flying when you're having fun. Yeah, which makes you quite of an experienced gentleman here in this industry. Fantastic. Yeah. So let's set the stage now for this conversation. So tell us, ELECTRA has been expanding fast across Europe, and Germany is a strategic market for ELECTRA. So before we dive in, can you briefly tell us why Germany and when did you guys start to open stations here?
Yeah, so we built up the team late 23, early 24. That's when we started to think about German market as one of the major markets for us. But as it is, so normally you need to find spots where you can install the chargers. You have to build the team. And since May last year, we started rollout. And since then, it's going up and up and up.
Great. So, and if you paint the picture like from the top on European level, how important is the German market for EV charging?
Yeah, the German car market is basically the number one market in Europe, and that makes it also important for the EV industry to be the number one market. Here you have the most vehicles that probably will turn into electric vehicles, so a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of competition. And we saw this. We saw also there is still space for a company that has the profile like we have in the market, and that's why we made the decision to expand to Germany.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll dive more in the details of your choice and your differentiation. So from a CPO's perspective, right? So how would you describe the current high-power charging landscape in Germany? What makes it fundamentally different than other European markets?
Yeah, you have some very long-lasting players in the market that have started rollout very early, like Allego or Ionity, that are there for quite a long time. Also, they started very early building on the motorways and focusing more on connecting cities and long-distance traveling first. But now the market is shifting more to urban charging, filling the gaps in between. And you see that also in the areas where maybe people have not yet decided to move to electric vehicles, charging infrastructure is popping up. The market is very clustered. You don't have major players dominating the market for 90%. It's a lot of players there, but a strong leadership position by Tesla and EnBW, of course, in the market that invested heavily for the last years and have built a quite dense network already.
Mm-hmm. So how challenging is it? Are we talking, as a market for a CPO, is it more a regulatory challenge, a grid challenge, speed of rollout challenge? And how mature is it today, this market of high power charging?
Yeah, all of this. First of all, you need to find the premises where you can build charging infrastructure. That means you need to convince landowners, partners, but also their clients that this is a good idea to invest in or to partner with you, that they need infrastructure on site. Second, you have a lot of federal states and communities that set local rules for the permits. Not every parking lot is considered a parking lot after you have installed EV infrastructure there. That is quite an issue in Germany. Mm-hmm. But also you see that the grid is getting more and more congested, and that you have to deal with 800 plus DSOs in Germany that make different rules every time you approach them. And some of them have standard processes, others not. So these things, that's what really challenges you as a CPO.
Okay, so not an easy market to enter for sure. So it is, as you said, highly competitive, strong incumbents, which you described. So how do you differentiate in this market, right? So what's Electra's take on high power charging to differentiate on the market?
Yeah, we not only build chargers to be having chargers in the field that people can use. We think more about what the client actually needs. What do you expect as a customer when you approach a charging station? Where should it be located? That's where we're very selective. But also from the customer experience on site, we differentiate here that it should be as easy as possible to use our chargers and also give you the best information you would need as a client. We have our nice electro poles that show you the price already from a long distance, but also give you an information about the state of charge when your car is plugged in. So for clients that maybe wait for a free spot, they can see it already. We have a reservation function that also gives customers the option to plan a bit ahead. And we constantly invest in this type of experience. So we constantly research what clients or also site partners need to make charging a great experience, and not only a charger in the middle of nowhere that you can fill up your car with.
Absolutely. That's some strong points. Before we continue, a quick note for those of you scaling EV charging in Germany or Austria. If grid control compliance is slowing down your rollouts, you're not alone. With hundreds of grid operators and varying technical requirements, standardization becomes a real challenge. That's exactly why we hosted a webinar on grid operator control and the Flexbox, breaking down what's changing, why it matters, and how leading CPOs like Electra are simplifying deployments with a plug-and-play approach. It's available on demand on our website, and you'll find the link in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the episode. How important is operational scalability versus the speed of deployment in your eyes?
It's both. Both, I think, is equally important. If you're in a market like Germany, it's all about speed and rollout. You need to gain market shares by rolling out fast. But at the same time, you need to build a product that scales and don't bring you the issue. You need to fix all the problems quite early stage. You need to apply processes that are standardized in order to speed up rollout, right? Both come together, and I think it's equally important.
Yeah. And listening to your positioning speech and knowing, of course, what Electra does. So I have an idea about the answer, but do you see technology as a competitive advantage or as just a hygiene factor?
No, it's definitely a competitive advantage. At the moment, for example, you have a strong leadership or a market leadership position in the charging infrastructure hardware that every player uses because it's reliable. But there is coming new technology on the market from other countries or other suppliers that might disrupt this market again, like Alpitronic did a couple of years ago. So the game is not over yet. And I think for the next years, we see also the charging speed of cars will evolve fast. You will see that the charging time will shrink down. So also the way we charge our cars and what we expect on site will change dramatically in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, so let's talk about the real challenges a bit more in detail. So when you started rolling out sites in Germany, what were the biggest operational or technical challenges that you guys encountered?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we build our charging parks to suit the future of charging demand as well. So we need to pre-plan already the next years, and this also goes to the DNOs. You have a lot of them, and when you ask them for grid code, it takes ages to get an answer, and probably it's not the answer you would like to have in most cases. So you need to find solutions for that. But also, it's not only charging infrastructure providers asking DNOs about grid connections. They have a lot of workload on the same subject, from AI, data centers, from photovoltaics, charging infrastructure, battery storages. So it's getting more and more, and we should really think about how this business or this segment can standardize more.
Yep. Absolutely. So, and at what point does grid compliance become a blocker rather than just a checkbox where it really becomes problematic?
Well, we most of the time look into urban sites or very urban like sites. So that makes a lot of constraints already from the grid connection possible. In inner town Munich, you will not find 2 megawatts of grid capacity, right? But also here, even the smallest amount of grid capacity you can get, you need to make the most out of that, because there's a demand for charging. And that makes it quite, you have to find a smart solution, right, to get the most out of your 100 kilowatts, 200 kilowatts that you are offered by the DNO. Yeah,
no, I understand. Was there kind of a wake-up moment where you realized that the approach that maybe Electra came with, from the blueprint from the HQ wouldn't work in Germany, and that you need to have a different approach?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are in more than one country in Europe, so every country has its own perks. And in Germany, it's really the system that runs off different bureaucracies, a lot of DNOs that comes in Europe, and that puts a different playbook on our rollout, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's, I guess, the context where we started to talk together. So can you maybe tell us a bit what led Electra to deploy the Flexbox, which is the solution that you found and that fulfilled your needs? Tell us a bit about the background.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we started to roll out stations in a couple of areas with different DNOs, and suddenly, short before go live, they came around with the request to install something like the Flexbox or FlexiCharge. And we were looking for a solution that is available short notice, but covers most of the use cases with those DNOs, because we didn't want to look into a project by project solution. We rather look for something that is scalable and we can deploy on all the sites. So that's how we got in touch, and we quickly aligned on what are the requirements, and the team said it's not an issue for you to install something like this at multiple DNOs and fulfill all the requirements of them. Yeah.
And how did it impact the commissioning time or the coordination with the grid operators? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. In terms of coordination, I think we still had to align a bit with the grid, the DNOs, what your solution is about. But the moment they understood what it's capable of doing, it was rather easy to do, and we could just install it and test. In terms of rollout, this had to open stations last year that we were not able to open otherwise, because it was too short notice from the requirements spec.
Yep. And then how did it also help your technical partner who's doing the installation on the ground? How did they also, did they understand and did they see the advantages of the Flexbox?
Yeah, I mean, when we build a transformer, you try to get everything installed in the factory of the supplier, not on site. So having a solution that is easy to retrofit is one big advantage. But on the other hand, also having a partner that can ship to your suppliers and install in warehouses is also a big advantage. And we found both with you. So that is something I really like on the product. It's called Box, but it's actually a box that you can just plug and play into the transformer, and the effort is quite low to retrofit.
Yeah. So if we look a bit ahead, how important is standardization when you think about scaling HPC sites across Germany?
It's super important. I mean, we see it more and more that, of course, every site is different, but you need to apply standard blueprints of your site layouts. There's things that work and others that don't. And the same goes for how you want to position your transformer, how you want to equip your transformers. So it's all about standardization and industrialization.
Yeah. And so does having this repeatable hardware plus control setup change how you plan your expansion and your timelines and so on?
Well, we consider this, but to be honest, the big uncertainty is the DNO. You can standardize everything you have in your own control, but if there's a third party involved that is not used to this type of working mode, and it's probably not because they don't want to do it, they just don't have the capacities to do it, then it slows you down, and then it's becoming unpredictable. So rollout is definitely always a challenge.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So at this stage, we're introducing this kind of solution, and which helps to standardize. And as I understand, on your side, is very clear your technical partners, but the DSOs, as you say, still like, do they understand, and how can they improve their processes and modernize and to accommodate all the requests, especially fast growing from EV charging? If you had a message to the DSOs in terms of your expectation as EV charging professional, what would that be?
Yeah, they should invest in digitalization a lot more. Many of their processes are quite manual. You have still paperwork that you need to fulfill. Also, here standardization across different DNOs can reduce costs for them, so they can partner with other DNOs close by or in their area to make it easier for externals to request, sharing resources for this kind of matter. But also on the other hand, some processes are not bootstrapped. They do it step by step by step by step, and then this adds a lot of time in between. I mean, I'm not a DNO, who am I to judge, but from an outside point of view, it looks sometimes a bit too old-fashioned and complicated, and that will probably not work out for them if also their employees go to retirement and they will not have enough people anymore to work in the same way. So those things is, I think, what they need to invest to, and then also the workload gets a bit less on their side. I fully understand that their employees do the best they can, and we see DNOs that already started this type of transition, and they are quite successful with it. And then there's others that are not, and I think this should be also driven by the government and pushing them a bit more in this direction.
Yeah. So here's to a message to Mr. Merz, make something happen. Digitalization in Germany, I know, is a big topic, and that's an area where hopefully digitalization and AI can do wonders and catapult the industry in the 21st century. Yeah. Okay. So to wrap up, where do you want ELECTRA Germany to be in 2-3 years, and what do you need to get there?
Yeah, we have quite ambitious rollout targets. So we plan roughly 600 sites live by the end of 2030. We are in a good way. We found projects and sites that are sufficient to power our rollout, but also we need a bit the support of the DNOs. And I think in 2 years, I would be really happy if I get all the grid codes that I asked for in time with the power I asked for. Of course, that's a wish, but we will also be able to manage with partners like you or other technologies to deal with less capacity than probably is necessary and make it more efficient. And that makes me quite optimistic for the rollout in Germany and also the overall EV market.
All right. Great perspective. So, and maybe a last one, because we just love technology. What are the few technologies evolution you see happening in our industry that excites you the most?
Yeah, it's definitely dispenser charging. So you see more and more systems going from centralized or to centralized power units instead of installing them in the charger. That creates a lot of flexibility for you to position. You have less footprint for the parking lots to use, but you also see that there is a huge technology improvement coming for the converter modules. So that means that the level of power you can install per square meter is growing, and that's very exciting because it creates also a lot of efficiency. You do not have to assign 400 kilowatts to 2 single charging spots. You can really use that now for 10 or 20 charging spots and make the most out of that. And I think Tesla showed this quite early already in their concepts with the charging parks. They were there ahead, but also other players now catching up, and there is a lot of room for improvement still available.
Yeah. That's an exciting one. Absolutely. I can clearly see why being an urban, as you say, usually positioned player, you want to optimize the space. If it's a supermarket as a partner, they want to have you don't want to disrupt their parking space and the way they distribute or allocate the space. So very interesting. Yeah, that's a good one. On that note, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the chatcast. Looking forward to following the expansion of ELECTRA in Germany, and wishing you a great day.
Thanks a lot, Christophe. Have a great day too.
And that's a wrap for today. So what are the key takeaways from this conversation with Paul? Well, first, Germany is not just a big market, it's a complex one. Scaling high-power charging here means navigating fragmented regulation, 800-plus grid operators, and unpredictable grid timelines. Speed is critical, but the grid defines what's really possible. Second point, standardization is not a luxury, it's a survival strategy. When every site is different and every DNO or DSO has its own requirements, having repeatable hardware setups, scalable processes, and smart grid integration becomes a real competitive advantage. Third, technology is not just a hygiene factor anymore. From intelligent load management to dispenser-based charging architectures, the way we design infrastructure today will define how efficiently we scale tomorrow. And finally, collaboration matters. CPOs, grid operators, technology partners, we're all part of the same equation. If we want to accelerate EV adoption, we need more digitalization, more transparency, and more alignment across the ecosystem, all the way to the DSOs. A big thank to you, Paul, for sharing such honest and practical insights into Electra's expansion in Germany. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the ChargePoint podcast, share it with your network, give it a nice rating, and leave a nice review. And stay tuned for our next deep dive into the future of EV charging. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.